All right, everyone, welcome to the latest episode of the Coliving Investing Podcast. I am your host, Ashley Jeffers, and for this episode, we have a special guest. Donnise Webb is with us. Thanks for joining in, Donnise. Appreciate you being here.
Thanks for inviting me. I really appreciate it too.
Yeah, we got a little history. So we go back a couple years to
Mhm.
meeting in Miami. I can't remember the year, um, but we were at a women's
Yes,
investing conference.
absolutely.
What was it called? Oh my goodness.
Live wired.
Live wire. Shanika gonna hurt me. Live wire. Shout out to the good sister Shanika, who put on the Live Wired conference, a real estate investing conference for women only. She does an excellent job every time she puts that conference.
Yes,
That's where you and I met. So
yes.
I definitely wanted to have you on because when we met, and you told me you work for Carnival Cruise Lines, never heard of anyone working for Carnival at all.
Really?
Ever. That's why it piqued my interest. Like, you work for what company now? So you still work for Carnival today, Cruise Line today.
Yes.
Okay.
25 years. This is my 25th year with
Man,
Carnival.
congratulations. That is impressive in
Yeah.
our
In
in
this
our
day and age, right?
economy in this day and age, right? Like,
Yeah.
um, my generation is accustomed to working a job for 2 years and knowing
Yep.
that if we stay, that raise is only going to be like 1 to 3%, not to even keep pace with inflation. So we got to go. We got to head
That's
out
right.
after the 2 year mark and go find something else to do. So for people such as yourself who is able to stay with the same company for over 20 years, that's impressive. So congratulations on that. I know you're close to
Thank you.
retirement though, so you're about to hang it up.
That's the goal.
One more year, you think?
1 to 2 years.
One
Yeah,
to two.
we'll see how it goes, but it's 1 to 2 years. That's the goal. It's the
Cool.
target.
So what came first, Carnival or real estate investing? Tell me about that journey into W2, from W2 to real estate investing.
Okay, so I'm an attorney by trade and practicing law for probably 30 plus years now, and with Carnival for 25 of those years. Started off just with the W-2 because no one ever really talked to me about owning a business or investing in real estate or anything like that. It was always go to college, get a great job,
Hmm.
retire, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
Um, my first encounter with real estate was actually when I bought my first primary residence with my mother back in 1987. So it's a single family house that we actually still own till today. And after that, I bought my own primary residence after I graduated from law school when I was pregnant with my son. Still have that property today. And in 2016, when my dad retired from New York and moved down to Miami, we bought a townhouse for him to use as his primary residence. And I still have that property today. So those three properties are now all rental properties. And that's really how I started off my journey with real estate investing. So you buy it as your primary residence, and then eventually it becomes a rental property.
That's awesome. So I'm guessing these three properties are paid for outright at this point.
No, they still have mortgages, so we've been leveraging with mortgages to buy other properties and to do other things. So they don't have huge mortgages, but they do have small mortgages on it, and also kind of protects the property from creditors when you have a little bit of a mortgage on it. You
Sure.
know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, but they're all being paid for by my tenants,
Mhm.
or one of them is a co-living property, so which I know we're gonna talk a little bit about, but yeah, so all the bills are covered by the income that comes in from the tenants in those properties, and it's all good. And they're appreciating assets. They're all in Miami, Florida, which is a very, expensive market and with lots of appreciation. So it's been good.
So basically, you're using those properties to leverage them to buy more property, and
Correct.
also maintaining ownership on those mortgages on those to take advantage of the tax benefits, the mortgage benefit, the benefits that you get from having a mortgage on the property. So that's awesome. Um,
Yes.
so once you kind of got like to property number 3 or 4, what at that point was your your path, right? Because I know that as real estate investors, all of us enter the game differently, right? Some of us
Right.
come through wholesaling. I was one of those that came through wholesaling because I was told that's the quickest way to get into real estate investing with no cash or no credit. So I had the credit. Credit's good. I just didn't have the cash. Um, and so that was my route in. But I know some people they've never done a wholesale deal in their life. Like you kind of have to
I've never done one.
that's how it is. And so they came into the game in a different way by leveraging 401k to buy their first room first buy and hold property like a traditional rental. So what was your
Right.
thought? Like, you know what, at this point we want to rev up, we want to keep going with this real estate investing thing. This is what our strategy is going to be and why.
Correct. So for me, like I said, those three properties were purchased with the intention of being primary residence, either for myself, my mom, or my dad. So that wasn't an intentional step into real estate investing. What really sparked my interest in becoming a real estate investor was attending a conference with my husband about tax lien and tax deed investing. And that was in 2017. We attended this big conference. They talked about all the properties you can buy for little money, et cetera, et cetera. And that's what really sparked for me real estate investing as a strategy for wealth building, retirement planning. And it went from there. So it sparked the interest. I learned about tax lien, tax deed investing. We bought a couple of properties through that vehicle. And then with that as a background, I just started to look at other avenues of real estate investing because, as you know, there are so many different ways that you can invest in real estate, right?
So,
I learned about wholesaling. I knew I did not want to be a wholesaler, you know. I learned about node investing. I learned about, self storage and mobile homes and all of these different ways that you can invest in real estate. And for me, what really struck me and really set me off was co-living. And when I was learning about co-living, the course called it group homes. So instead of co-living, the strategy was called group homes. Same strategy where you have a single family property and you rent it by the bedroom, but it was just called something different. And with that strategy, I learned that you could take that same single family house and instead of renting it traditionally to a family for, $2,000 in Miami, you could take that same house, rent it by the bedroom, and make double or more than double the income from the property. So that made a lot of sense, especially in Miami, Florida, because we have, like I'm sure throughout the entire country, an affordability crisis here.
yeah,
Single, apartments for one person, they're very expensive. And we have people that are, making minimum wage or low income and can't even afford, a one bedroom or a two bedroom apartment, let alone a house.
right. Yeah, it's super expensive. Yes, it is a nationwide issue. I do not believe that the solution is coming anytime soon. So
No.
it's important for um, me to do this podcast because this is
Yeah.
like my way of trying to um, add value in this space to educate people on, hey, when you get into room rental investing, it's not only because the money is better than just than traditional rental investing, but you're actually like making a difference. Um,
Yes.
and so it's it's really sad that people work 40 and 50 hours a week, like legit full-time jobs doing legal things,
Yeah.
but still have been priced out of the rental and house buying market is the craziest thing. So,
It's
you know,
crazy.
there's you know, come down to options like it's either sleeping in my car
Yeah.
or paying for like econo lodge or microtel, these kind of motel off the side of the highway setups. Like people are actually living in those, and they're
Yeah.
actually paying like an outrageous amount of money every single week to rent a room at these motels that are kind of sketchy.
Yeah.
In
There.
most situations, like you don't want to be caught in the parking lot of one of these like motels at night. So
Yeah.
um I know I kind of like went on a tangent, but just trying to
No,
make
you're absolutely correct. And I
yeah,
was very fortunate to come across this strategy because it is something that I'm passionate about. And I think that one of the things that I do want to stress, with regard to my story, which was very important for me, is learning about the different ways that you can invest in real estate, right?
yeah,
I was part of a couple of masterminds, some women's groups and whatnot. I was very careful with the mentors that I followed. You can follow people on social media and there's a lot of YouTube university stuff, but you have to be careful with the information and who you're getting it from. So
yes,
I've had some really good mentors that were able to give knowledge and information on the different ways of investing in real estate. And so from there, I was able to decide, okay, I don't want to do this. This doesn't interest me. But, this co-living really did interest me because, I have a passion for helping people
yeah.
and it's been very, very rewarding. I've been a co-living operator for over 5 years now.
Oh
My
wow,
first co-living property was 5 years ago.
that's
Yeah.
awesome. So take me back 5 years ago to that first one. How did you
Okay.
find the lead? What was appealing to you about the property? What was your target audience? Because we know that there's a lot of groups
Yes.
that we can serve. We got the traveling nurses, we got the corporate
Yes.
professionals, the construction workers, just the blue, our blue collar workers that we see every single day, working hard. That's mainly who I serve. So give me a little bit of insight into how that first property. What were your thoughts and your strategy around that first property?
Yeah, absolutely. So I actually purchased the property from my nephew and his siblings. Their mother had bought this property. It's a small house on a very large lot in Miami. It's like a rarity to have a lot this large. And unfortunately, sadly, their mom had passed away and left them the house. So it was four siblings and her husband, and the house was in a horrible state of disrepair. It needed a roof. There was mold. There was termites. It was falling down.
Yeah.
And they were all adults at that point, and they didn't have the money to fix it. They didn't want the house. They wanted to go and live their life. So it was really fortuitous because a random real estate investor sent them a letter and said, "Hey, we buy property," and and yeah, probably. And they called me because I'm a lawyer, and they said, "Hey, this person sent me a letter, and they want to buy the house for $250,000. What do you think about that?" And I said, "Well, if you're going to sell the house for $250,000 to anyone, you're going to sell it to me." And so they did. They sold it to me. And, I was able to let them stay, my nephew stay there during the renovation, part of the renovation process. So to help them with the transition. So it was a win-win for them and for me. So 5 years ago, we did a complete rehab. It was a major rehab. It was my first one.
Oh,
And as I'm sure you've probably experienced dealing with contractors, it
don't get me.
started.
That's a whole nother conversation just on dealing with contractors.
Yeah, it
I
started off it started off great, and then towards the end it got slow, it got complicated, it
got
got,
expensive.
give me money, but wait, you didn't meet this milestone, but give me money. And he
Right.
basically
Yep.
stopped working and I had to find someone else to finish the job. But we got it done. And my target market, it was initially, I wanted to target young people that were aging out of foster care. So in that course that I was telling you about that introduced me to co-living, it talked about, how do you market to the different agencies, with emails and going with flyers and going and talking to people. And I did all that, but I was not getting the response that I needed from them. So I decided to open it up to general population because I needed to get that house built. And so I did that, and I started marketing on different channels like, roomies.com and Facebook and different groups. And I was able to fill the home pretty quickly with ordinary people, primarily women. I've had a couple of men that have been there, but we have primarily women. And it's been great because I've had very little turnover over the years. And I have the three young ladies that live there now have been there for at least 3 years. So, which is, that's one of the issues with, with co-living, is that you have the potential for turnover, but it's how, and you talked about it initially, it's how you treat people, how you are as a property owner and property manager, that really, gives you that longevity. So it's been a really good journey.
So 3 years, that is phenomenal. So I had one, the longest that I've had a tenant stay was 2 years. And I thought that was a very long time to live in
Yeah,
a room. But it's not about me. It's
right.
not about what I think
Exactly.
is, too long to stay in a room, or, very long time staying in a room. That's what that tenant needed. She needed
Yeah.
all of that time to work on her credit, to increase her savings, to work on a certification that would help her in the job market to find a higher paying job. That's what her 2 years was for. And
Yeah.
so really that's how I look at these room rentals, as just stepping stones for folks between their now and where they're trying to go. And if that
Exactly.
takes, on average, my tenants are staying 4 to 6 months. So if it takes
Wow.
the 4 to 6 months, that's great. But if it takes 2 years like mine, or 3, 4, 5 years, it sounds like with your tenants, they might be there, indefinitely, if that's what they need. And
That's what they need.
then
Yeah.
that's what they need. If they're not
M-
causing any problems in the home and they are
That's
paying
it.
on time,
Yeah.
have at it. Stay as long as you want.
And what's beautiful about the ladies in that particular home is they have formed their own little community. So they were
Okay.
strangers at first, and now
Mhm.
they're friends. They don't hang out together and whatnot, but they
Sure.
work together as far as, keeping the house clean and doing everything that they need to do, and they're friendly and they're cordial. And that has been a great blessing to see that as well. And I think part of the reason why they're so comfortable there is, number one, I try to foster that community vibe for them. And I try to honestly pick people that I think would mesh, where like some platforms like Pad Split, which we may talk about, they just put people in your house, right? Or send you people. But I've tried to look for similar personalities, and it's kind of hard to always tell that with interviews and whatnot, but I've been pretty successful with it. Yeah, I think I've just had like one person where, I said yes, and within a day I had to say no.
We thought
Yeah,
it
yeah,
was gonna work out. No, never mind. Yeah, so that's the beautiful part of the room rental business model. When you do kind of hand select, try to handpick individuals that are going to be a good fit for one another.
yeah,
Because we don't live in these houses with them.
right,
So we can only do what we can in terms of looking at how they look on paper, having a
right,
conversation with them, whether it's, in person or a Zoom call. Have a conversation. Through conversation, you should get some idea, right? If they're going to be a good fit for the house.
yeah,
And
yeah,
so that really does help. Um, I've never had a situation where I had tenants that once they were placed in the house, it was just so much friction that they just could not get along.
mm,
Like, from what I've seen, to your point, they figure out a way, or they find a way to work together as like a
right,
community, right?
yeah,
Like, we're not expecting them to act like family, right?
right,
But they do work out the who's taking out the trash schedule. they do work out the who's going to get the mail this week schedule. And just look out for one another. If there's concerns about security, hey, I think I saw somebody last night. We should reach out to Ashley and ask her to check, the exterior camera, so people do find their way of communing with one another in these homes. And I think that's a really cool part about what we provide in the marketplace in that regard.
Yeah. Yeah. I love it. I love it.
So you get the first one up and running. How many beds and baths did it have?
So that was an interesting property because I mentioned it was a small house, right?
Mhm.
Initially, it was, the 1, 2, 3. So it was 3 bedrooms and then a garage conversion was already there. And they only had 1 bathroom. So I wanted to try to get a second bathroom in the house, but because it was so small, I couldn't get another full bathroom in there. So what I did was I took a closet from the bedroom that was next to the bathroom, and we made that a half bathroom. So there's 1.5 bathrooms. Initially, when I started, I had 2 private bedrooms. The smaller rooms were private, and then the 2 larger rooms were shared. So I had 6 people. I had, 2 people sharing a room, and then 2 private rooms. So I had 6 people in total.
Like twin beds?
Twin beds. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
And
so back then it was the twin beds. Now I only do full size beds.
Okay.
But back then the model that they taught us, was like twin beds. So, but yeah, and it worked out. So initially it worked out where I had 2 sisters in one room, and then I had 2 young ladies who had gone to college, graduated from college together. Okay. So they were used to living in dorms. So they were together and they stayed a very long time. But then after they left, it was very hard for me to find someone who would share a room with a stranger. So what I did was I changed it from 2, shared rooms. Now I only have 4 private rooms.
Okay.
And I, charge a little more for the bigger rooms. And the thing with that property, and about buying property subject to the mortgage, that's what I did with that property. So my nephew's mom had a small mortgage. I think at the time it was maybe $50,000 left on the mortgage at a 2% interest rate.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah. So, and she had passed away. So the mortgage was there. So I'm just, making the mortgage payment. So the mortgage is low. The bills are low. So I could afford to make it a four people instead of 6. So my profit is a little bit less, but the headache is also less trying to find people who would share a bedroom. And I do know there's some people that do that in their co-living properties. But for me, it was, because I'm self-managing and doing everything myself, it was too much. It was just easier to fill private rooms.
Yeah. So I would find that hard too. I think that would be a challenge. I think of twin beds. I think of sober living. I think of
reentry,
and I think of veterans.
Yeah,
because those groups come out of situations like if you're reentry for sure, coming from behind the wall to sharing a room with just one other person in a very nice house. That's like a improvement. That's a step up in life. And so I have to keep that kind of like perspective when it comes to 2 beds in a room. But it's like, listen, you to stay there, Ashley. This is it for people who, have a past that ain't so pretty. And so this is actually something that's going to help them establish stability in their lives and improve their lives. And so that's the most important part.
Exactly.
So you mentioned self-management. That's interesting. How's that going? You all right? Because I self-manage as well right now. But as soon as I hit like that magic number I have in my head of the number of rooms that I need to hit, I'm turning all this stuff over to property management. So how has self-management gone for you thus far?
It was good. It was manageable until like my last property. So I added a co-living property um last year,
Okay.
and that one was going great. Right now I just have two empty rooms currently that just became vacant that I have
Hmm.
to flip. But with that property, and then I have another property that I just finished rehabbing that's going to be my next co-living property in
Okay.
Miami. So I'll have three co-living properties here in Miami, and it's a lot because I'm managing construction in addition to everything else. My first property is not on any platform. I'm, doing all the marketing and stuff myself. My second property is in an area called Miami Gardens, so it's a nice area. This was the house that I bought with my mother. We did a complete major rehab, like digging out the floor and doing all new plumbing and adding another bedroom, adding a 1.5 bathrooms. So we've got, yeah, so we did a
It's a
major
rental.
rehab. Yeah. And it turned out beautifully. And so that one will have 5 bedrooms, and and it has 3.5 bathrooms.
Okay.
So 2 of the rooms have private bathrooms, and then the other 3 rooms share 1.5 bathrooms.
Okay. Gotcha.
So you can, charge more for that. So, with the addition of that property, and then I just finished, like I said, another major rehab of another property. I'm like,
Vacation.
yeah, it's a lot. So to be honest with you, as far as self-managing, talking with my husband and my son. So I have a son who's an adult, who lives in Georgia, and he's very entrepreneurial. He's very bright, and this is all part of his legacy. This is going to be his. So my goal is by the end of this year, at the latest, to bring him into the property management aspect of the business. So right now, I'm honestly organizing each of my properties as far as documentation so that I can just, hand it over to him, in an orderly fashion, but it's just getting everything organized so I can turn it over. So that's my desire, rather than hiring a property manager, and because what happens when this legacy becomes his, he's not going to know what to do with it.
Right.
So by introducing him to the property management now, it will give me peace of mind that he'll know what to do when he's in charge. So, and he's looking forward to that as well.
Yeah, I think that's amazing, and I'm so glad he's looking forward to
Yeah.
it, and not a situation. Not to say that you would like, set him up in this way. But I'm glad it's not a situation where he's being forced into the family
Right.
business.
Yeah.
Because in those situations, the kids usually don't last long if they're forced into
Yeah.
a situation. It's like,
No, he's
I don't do it.
excited.
So
He's
I'm so
excited.
glad he's excited. That's awesome because he will be able to carry the business generation after generation after generation. Like if he has, he's got to have a kid that's excited as he is, and then
Yeah.
kids that have as excited as the previous kid was.
Yeah.
But just giving your family a shot at having this portfolio that you're building, something that is a viable option to continue to create wealth, and
Yes.
being able to pass that to the next generation is amazing. Um,
Yes.
because we've just seen so many times that parents, they start businesses and the kids could care less. Like
Right.
they don't want your business. They don't want your restaurant. They don't want your accounting firm. They don't want your law firm. Like none of
Mm.
that stuff, because it's like I have other desires and I
Interest.
want to pursue.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I guess we're biased because I feel like this is a pretty good route for him to pursue. Like
Absolutely.
it doesn't matter what you're doing in business. All roads lead to real estate. We know that.
That's
You either started in real estate making money, or you started making money in other businesses,
and you
other
buy real estate.
industries, and you ended up buying real estate later
Mm-hmm.
on. So,
Yeah.
so tell me about what your goals are for, I guess, the remainder of the year. We got what, 5.5 months left?
Yeah.
Are you buying another one? Or are you just wanting to just create more stability and create a more firm foundation for what you got going on now? Like, what are your thoughts of what you're going to build between now and year end?
Correct. So the goal is to get the foundation done, get everything organized. I thrive on organization, and I want to make it easy for someone to pick it up and be able to run with it. So, getting all the operating procedures in place, and this is the information for this property, that property, so that everything is organized. So that's my goal for the rest of this year. We did just buy a property in Georgia, in Atlanta, which is minutes away from the airport. It's in a great location, and that's part of my retirement planning, because my son and my grandchildren, I have 3 grandchildren, live in Georgia, and so I frequently go to Georgia to see them. And so we said, well, why not buy a house? So my son lives there. His children will come every other weekend for his visitation. And then, so they have their rooms. I have a room where my husband and I can go and we can stay as often as we like. And we were intentional in buying a house that had a fully finished basement that has 2 bedrooms, a bathroom, a little kitchenette, and a private entrance. So we're going to Airbnb that out so that it'll help to, cover the mortgage and the expenses. So that we just closed on that. So we're in the process of getting the Airbnb part of it set up so that we can start making some money with that. So as far as buying more property before the end of the year, unless something drops in my lap, I'm not out
You're not
there
looking for it.
looking for it. Yeah, I need to, get a handle and manage everything that I have, get it organized so I can sleep well at night.
Right. Because that to-do list will keep you up. That to-do list be like,
it will.
Let me go do it right now before I go to sleep.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
One of the things that I do have to do is the property that I bought last year, that we just finished the rehab. That one I need to do a cash out refinance. So you talk about, different ways of financing properties. That one I also bought subject to the mortgage. I bought it from a family friend who needed to sell the house. I tried to convince them to keep it and rent it, but they were like, no, we just want to sell it. And I said, okay, I'll buy it. And I bought it, and the mortgage is still in her name. And what I agreed to do is I gave her a promissory note for her part of the money. So I'm giving her a little at a time to kind of stretch out the payments. And then I took over the mortgage. So I'm paying her mortgage. And so now that the house is rehabbed and we're about to start renting it, I'm at the point where now I can do the cash out refinance. I can pay her off, pay off the old mortgage, and then pay myself back for not all, but most of the rehab costs, so that I'll have very little money in the deal. So that's something else that has to be done this year.
Very good. Very good.
Part of the tying up of the loose ends.
Yeah. Yeah. Each one of these houses we buy, they represent little banks, like their own little bank. And at some point in the future, after stabilizing the asset, you can reach back and say, I'm going to do a cash out refi so I can get some cash out of there. Use that cash towards the next purchase, or do the cash out refi like you mentioned in this scenario, was paying off the existing mortgage that has someone else's name on it.
Yeah.
Which is nothing wrong with keeping her name on it. I mean, people buy subject to all the time, and they keep that person's name on the mortgage and everything in place with it for years. And as long as that mortgage gets paid on time by somebody,
no one cares.
Nobody cares, especially they don't care. So last question.
Yes.
Over your 5 years of experience, thinking back to the good, the bad, and the ugly, what advice would you give a first-time room rental business operator?
So my advice would be to educate yourself, not to just jump in without, education. There are reputable people that have courses, like Ashley. You have a great course. You No, it's absolutely true. Listening to your content, I've been listening to your podcast. I've learned a few things, which has been great. So finding someone who's reputable, who's doing the work, already doing it, so that you can follow them and learn from them. Because doing it blind, I think, is probably the worst thing that you could possibly do. And it doesn't mean that you have, what is it called? Analysis paralysis, where you're just learning and you
Yeah.
don't take any action. You learn and then you have to take action. And you
Yeah, I
can do
love
it
that.
scared. Just do it scared, but do it.
I love that. I have been, um, I've lost count of the number of investors that have brought me either their own deal or a wholesaler has brought me a deal where it's an investor that just jumped off the porch and was like, gonna buy this
That's it.
property because I heard room rentals, you get 2 to 3 times more cash flow on a room rental property versus a traditional rental. And that's all they heard.
Yeah.
That was their research. And just buy the house, throw some people in there, and think
Yeah.
that it's just gonna like stabilize
No.
itself and it's just gonna cash flow every month and everything's gonna be fine.
No.
It's like you don't
No,
even.
it's a little more to it than that.
Well, it's a little more into it than that. It's like you think about you're going to be managing multiple
People.
personalities under this one roof you bought.
Yeah.
It's not just about the property anymore. That's
Yeah.
traditional rentals. Room
Yeah.
rentals is coordinating of maintenance requests.
Mhm.
It's understanding what to do if one of your tenants like has like a mental breakdown. Like, what do you do in that situation?
I had one of those.
I haven't had one full fledged. Like I haven't had one like just like have a total display of a meltdown. But
Yeah.
I'm definitely dealing with someone right now who I
Yeah.
think is is suffering a little bit just because of
Yeah.
how they interact with me
Yeah.
via messenger. And so yeah, these are things that I can go on for days about the considerations that you should be making. I mean, it's a whole just like people needed to learn how Airbnb worked. It wasn't just a matter
Yes.
of putting a house on their platform and just expecting people to just start bringing you money, just start paying you
Right.
to stay in your unit because
Right.
it's more to it than that. So
Absolutely.
that's the best advice, just to get educated. If
Get
it's not,
educated.
I would love if it's me, but if it's not me, let it be somebody like you mentioned that shows that they have experience in this game, that they are
Mhm.
actively in this game, not someone who did it 20 years ago and is teaching from a vantage point of 20 years ago, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, Donnise, thank you so much for being here.
Oh, thank you for having me. This has been great. It's a
You
great
are amazing.
conversation.
Yeah,
Mhm.
this is I love having these conversations. I always get
Yes.
gems. I'm always learning, so I've learned some things from you, and I think it's amazing that legacy piece. That's my favorite
Yeah.
part of this conversation. Is
Yeah.
your son is going to pick this thing up and keep running with it, and so that's awesome.
Hopefully soon.
Yeah. He's on the way. He's on the way. It'll
He's like,
work
no,
out.
no.
It'll work out as soon as it's supposed to work out. Hang on in there. I feel you. That's self, like where are
It's no
you at?
joke.
It's no joke.
But we make it look easy.
Yeah, we still look like we just came back from vacation. In spite of all the things. So
Absolutely.
thank you for being here. Thank you for your time and thank you for sharing your story. I appreciate you.
Thanks so much. I really appreciate you too.
All right, guys, listen. Thank you for joining this episode. Make sure you like this episode. Make sure you
Yes.
subscribe to the Coliving Investing podcast so that you can get more knowledge, so you can hear more stories that are inspirational, like Donnise's. And so until next time, we'll see. Thanks everybody for joining. Peace.
Take care.
All right.